Again, everyone, welcome to today's webinar on the new DLC application portal for SSL and HORT. We're very excited today to share some great things going on with the DLC through this application portal and look forward to sharing the rest of this information with you today. Today, you have myself, Bernadette Boudreau, the Associate Director of Operations here at the DLC, Aaron Feldman, the Senior Technical Operations Analyst at the DLC, who will be presenting today. We do have a list of moderators and also those who assisted with the content development. Aaron Walling from the DLC, Rachel Goff, Dave Ryan, and Maddie Sly from the DNR, who will be moderating our Q&A panel. Just a few logistics on today's webinar. All the slides in this webinar will be recorded, and this will be posted on the DLC website shortly after today's presentation. You all will be muted during this presentation, and if you experience any technical difficulties, please use the chat feature to let us know. You will have an opportunity at the end of the session and throughout the session to enter your question and answers. You can place your questions in the chat box, and we will answer those questions during the meeting. If we cannot answer all of the questions during this webinar, we will follow up with you with a response after the meeting. At the end of the meeting, we will take a subset of the questions and verbalize that response to all of the attendees. In today's agenda, we will do an overview of the portal and the timeline, discuss the process and what has changed with the process in comparison to the old portal. We also will talk about the application dashboard and the MyLDLC access. We'll go into some more details on the application Excel forms that will be used for application submission, how to submit those applications, and once you've submitted those applications, how you can address communication or messaging within those applications. We'll also end the presentation with showing you some resources that will be available on this new application portal. So let's get started. We're going to go over the new portal overview and timeline. This is the who, what, when, and where in relation to this application portal. So who? This portal affects SSL and HORT applications only. It relates to private label, OEM, and update types. I want to note that NLC is not included in this new portal update. It utilizes the same process as today, which is the web Excel form. What is this new application portal? Well, what we've done is we've developed a more streamlined process and more user-friendly interface for application submissions. That also includes a new submitter dashboard and also a new web form application. We look forward to your feedback on this web form as we feel that it will be a very, very streamlined and more user-friendly process. When will this portal be released? For SSL and HORT, this new portal will be released on January 31st of 2022. Application cutoff time frames are in place to give ample time to submitters. I will go into more detail on that on a future slide. We will be moving the NLC application to this new portal later in 2022. So where will you access this new portal? Currently, you have access to the MyDLC website. When you go to MyDLC, you can access that new application portal via new links that will be placed on your MyDLC page. As you see in the graphic in the bottom right-hand corner, there will be a link to the old application portal and a new application portal. This will be available on January 31st. So, how will your new applications be affected? Well, let's talk about applications in the old system. Applications submitted prior to launch, that means prior to January 31st, can continue to be processed within the old system for 90 days. But please note, all applications must be completed in that old portal by May 1st, or they will be forced to process new applications in the new system. Note that submitters who have created applications but have not submitted those applications will be forced to submit an application in the new portal if not submitted by January 31st. For new applications, submitters will not be able to create new applications in the old portal after January 31st. You must create all new applications in the new portal. This relates to version SSL version 5.1 and HORT version 2.1. All of those new applications must be submitted in the new portal after January 31st. So what can you do to prepare for the DLC launch or the launch of this portal? Well, to start, the DLC will be creating some webinar resources and website resources to explain the application process. Those will be posted prior to launch and will be available throughout the launch of this and availability of this new application portal. As I stated in the beginning, we also will be posting this recorded webinar to the DLC website, so you'll have access to all of this information. We also will ensure that you have communication on the timing and different things that are happening through this launch process. So what can you do to prepare for this? Sign up for the newsletters that DLC offers, which will keep you updated on any of these dates and any updates to the new application portal. As I stated in the previous slide, please prepare for the application cutoff, which means submit any applications that you need to process in the old application portal prior to launch, and also prepare for new applications that will be submitted in the new system. If you can advance a little bit more, Aaron. We will note that you will have access to the old application portal, which meaning the amsdesignlights.org, to download all application data and history after January 31st. This will be available to you for 110 days until May 31st. So if you want to download any of that old data, any history, any reports that you need from that old AMS portal, please do that by May 31st. After May 31st, you will only have application to the new application portal. So let's talk about the process and what has changed. In this slide, we'll talk about the application process flow. For SSL, HORT, OEM, and update applications, it will follow this process. You will submit the application. The application will enter an initial review after any issues have been rectified or any data is updated. After the initial review, there will be an invoice issued. After that invoice is paid, you will move to the comprehensive review. And after the comprehensive review is completed, those products will be published to the QPL. The SSL and HORT private label and private label update applications will follow a slightly different process. After application submission, your application will move into a comprehensive review. There will no longer be an initial review with private label applications. After the comprehensive review, an invoice will be issued, and once that invoice is paid, applications will be published or products will be published to the QPL. So once again, in private labels, the major change there is that there will no longer be an initial review. After submission, we will be moving straight to comprehensive review. We did that to streamline the process on private label reviews. This is just a reminder on application types. We will have OEM and private label applications. OEM products are products that are typically qualified by the original OEM manufacturer or the original lighting manufacturer. These OEM products require a full set of testing and documentation to prove that all the products that are intended to be qualified on the QPL meet the technical requirements. This differs from a private label product, where a private labeler wishes to qualify a product identical to an OEM product already qualified on the QPL and publish it. Private label products can choose to be listed as OEM products, yet additional testing information and documentation will be required. Private label products do not require the same amount of documentation as OEM products. They have different application forms, different documentation requirements, and different review timelines. There's no change from this in the new application portal, but we just want to remind you of this nomenclature as you move forward with application processing. This is a change that has occurred with the new portal. We have changed the nomenclature on how applications are, on how we denote different application types. A level 1 application was formerly known as a single or standard application. However, the rules for single or standard applications still apply to level 1. There have been no changes in the rules or requirements for single or standard applications. The same review timelines also still apply. So a level 1 application is now a single or standard application. A level 2 application was formerly known as a family application. The same policies for family grouping apps that also applies to level 2 applications, along with the review timelines. So once again, a level 1 application is a single or standard application, and a level 2 application is now notated as a family application. Below, you will see that when you start an application, this will be one of the first questions that is asked. And we have added additional verbiage to ensure that you're reminded that a level 1 application and a level 2 application have changed in the nomenclature. Now, I'm very excited to present this new application dashboard. Let's go into some features of that dashboard. When you log into your MyDLC portal for the new application portal, you'll come to this application dashboard. This application dashboard has a lot of features that I'll go to in detail in future slides. But in the boxes, I want to point out a couple things. We will have resources on this dashboard that allow you to go to the DLC website and see information on process overview, see news about the DLC, and also get to a DLC knowledge base, which will have videos and some of the webinar information that we will be reviewing here today. We also want to note these yellow stars. These yellow stars allow you to select your favorite apps so they can show up on your application dashboard anytime you log in, right at the top. Myself and Erin Feldman will go into more detail on these favorites later on in the presentation. Let's talk about the My Application section, or on the dashboard. In this My Application section, it shows a summary of all your applications, including the application ID, name, type, status, and the last date that that application was updated. You will be able to open a larger window that allows you to see more features and manage your applications. Let's go ahead and see it here. In this view, this is an extended view of the My Applications page. As you can see, you will be able to see all of your applications here. You will be able to see applications that have been submitted, completed, and created, which means not yet submitted. You will be able to sort and search these applications by manufacturer, application type, and status. Note, the sort by manufacturer is for those users who have access to submit under multiple manufacturers. We'll go into more detail on that later on in the presentation as well. One feature that you also have is the ability to export a summary of all your application data. The gray button in the upper right-hand corner will allow you to initiate this export and download all of your application data for all applications submitted, completed, and created. Another section we'll go into on the dashboard is notifications. Note that as different statuses change within your application and reviewers send out messages, emails will be sent on your application. However, in the notification section on this dashboard, you will also see notifications that also let you know when your application may be waiting for a message or when your application has changed status. You will always be able to view these notifications, and they will always persist for future reference in case you want to use it for any other means. Next slide. If you go to view all notifications, you will see a summary of all your notifications that have for your account. You can search those notifications here and filter based on the different fields, which include application ID, status, and when the notification was received. Another section on this dashboard is the invoicing and payment section. A summary of the total number of invoices that are open and the total amount of these invoices can be found at all times on your application dashboard, as you see in the upper right-hand corner. However, if you go to the invoice and payment section on the application dashboard, you'll see this. You'll see a summary of all your outstanding invoices, which is invoices that have not been paid. In this section, you can view those invoices, and as you go into those invoices, you can choose to print, download, or pay those applications. As you pay those applications, they will be moved into the paid invoice section. In this section, you also will be able to click on the View Application button, where you will be able to print or download any of your applications. Also, I'm sorry, go back one more time. Also, in the gray buttons, you also will see the ability to download all outstanding and all paid applications if you do not want to download those individually. When you go into the paid invoice section or select an invoice to be paid, this is what you'll see. You'll see a summary of the application, which will include the ID and the name, as well as the application type, the invoice date, a summary of the application charges, and also all of the associated products that align with that invoice. As you click to pay invoice, you will be directed to enter your credit card information or ACH bank account information to process payment of this invoice. Also on this page, if you choose to pay by check, there's information on how you do that process. There's also contact information if you have any issues or concerns over invoices. Now let's talk about access to these dashboards. Access to these dashboards are based on the manufacturer accounts that you currently have with the DLC. When you go into the new portal, there will be no separate login, username, or password needed. You can utilize the same login, username, and password that you utilize now. Note, there are a couple different types of access to these manufacturing accounts. There's super admin access or admin access for a specific company. You can access and see the company settings or your own settings by going into the company settings page on your MyDLC website. In this section, you can choose to add or edit users who are associated with your manufacturing account. You can remove them or edit their access. Only users associated with your company can submit applications on behalf of your company for all application types. So as an admin, you can click on the Add User button on company settings to add other users. Or if you are a user, at the top, you can see you can click on the Add Organization button, which will send a request to the admin to get approval for you to join that manufacturer account. This is a streamlined process that we've utilized to allow many manufacturing accounts or different manufacturing accounts to be associated with the same email and allow users to control the administration of their company accounts. Now, let's talk about what it means to, with this different access. Users with limited access permissions can submit and view applications that they have submitted themselves on behalf of the company. So they will only be able to view applications in that manufacturer account that they have submitted. However, users with super administrative account can submit and view all applications submitted for that manufacturer, regardless of if they submitted them or not. So a super user basically has access to everything in that manufacturer account, while a limited access user only has access to the work that they do within the application portal. We will have a video in the how-to section that will go into more detail on user management of this account. Please take a look at those resources that we'll go over at the end of this presentation to get more information on those user accounts. And at this time, I'll hand it over to my colleague, Aaron Feldman, who'll go into more detail on the application submission forms and other aspects of submitting applications in this new portal. Take it away, Aaron.
Thank you, Bernadette, and thank you all for joining the webinar today. I'm excited to show you some of the some of the new portal functionality. And first, I'm going to go through the application Excel forms. Many of you who have submitted applications in the past are aware that one of the main components of the submission process is these application Excel forms. In the new portal, we will be using these, we will still be using application Excel forms, and they are very similar to the existing one. However, there are a few key differences. There are different Excel forms for each application type. That is, there's a set of application forms for both the SSL program and the HORT program. Each set has a form for each different type of application. That's OEM new, OEM update, private label new, and private label update. And in the earlier slide, Bernadette mentioned the differences between the OEM and private label. Just to quickly go through the difference between new and update, a new application type is submitted to get a new product or a new grouping of products known as a family qualified on the QPL for the first time. The update application type is also submitted to update products that are already listed on the QPL or to add new products to a family that is already listed on the QPL. Each of these forms will be available on the web and within the instructions page for each application type. Also, within the portal, when you go to submit one of these Excel forms, you will find a link to those instruction pages, and I'll show you that in a couple slides. The bulk of these Excel forms are the same, however, there are a few key differences, and those are noted on the right-hand side of this slide. Previously, the first tab of the application Excel form had some general information where that tab has now been removed, and some of those questions are included within the portal submission process or are automatically pulled in based on the user who is submitting the application. I'll go into a few of those questions in a couple slides. For the SSL program and also for HORT, there is a new tab titled Components, where information on the components, that is the LEDs, drivers, and fans for HORT, is captured. And these forms will be posted to the website this week. Going into the tabs a bit further, you can see on the top of this slide is the reported performance table tab. This is where the data is entered for each individual model number in your application. Included on this tab is a column for LED model number and driver model number. If there are multiple LEDs, which is more common for HORT than SSL, or if there are multiple drivers, you must separate them out with a comma, as shown in the example here, and the instructions are detailed above the column header. On the Components tab, you must enter the component model number and other information for each unique component utilized in products in your application. The Reported Performance Table tab and the Components tab must align. LED, driver, and fan model numbers entered on the Reported Performance Table must be included on the Components tab. And similarly, LED, driver, and fan model numbers on the Components tab must be included on the Reported Performance Table tab. Specific for update applications, there will be a column for product ID. Here you should enter in the product ID that you wish to update in this application. If you are adding products to an existing family, please leave the product ID column blank, as shown in this screenshot on the bottom. There are two products within a family that we are updating in this application, and two new ones, hence they do not have any data in the product ID column. For applications where you're not modifying any existing products, but you're only adding products to an existing family, please include the family code that you're adding products to in the update purpose question on the application questionnaire in the portal, and upload a download of the QPL of the family that, if qualified, these new products would join. In the new portal, there is no separate delisting, nomenclature, or dimming and controllability application Excel form. If you are updating or delisting products based on those criteria, please submit an update application and use the update application Excel and only fill in the information that has changed. Be sure to include the reason for the update on the application questionnaire when describing the purpose of that application. So now that you understand the basics of the new portal and the updated application Excel uploads, I'll take us through submitting an application. There are two ways to start an application. On the left-hand side, you can click on solid state lighting or horticultural lighting to reveal a drop-down for OEM new, OEM update, private label new, and private label update. And these align with the application Excel uploads I mentioned earlier. You can also start a new application by selecting in the middle of the dashboard the application type that you wish to create and press the continue button. Both of these methods will bring up the pop-up you see in the center of this slide. Here you can change the application type if you selected the wrong one accidentally. You'll also type in the application name. And the name of the application is similar to the old portal, where it should be unique so you can easily identify the application later. Lastly, you will also select the manufacturer for the application. If you are approved to submit applications for multiple manufacturers, as Bernadette showed earlier regarding the user accounts, you can select the manufacturer that you'd like to be associated to this particular application. So once you create an application, you'll be taken to that application's detail page. At the top of the page, you will see an application overview, which contains some pertinent information to quickly see general application information, such as the name, ID, the type of application, and a few other properties. You can also see on the right-hand side at the top, there's a box for the next step. This box will change as you process through the application, noting and directing you to the next steps to either complete the application, to send updated information, or to pay an invoice. If the application is under review, this box will say that no action is needed. Beneath the actions needed box is the application actions. This box has options that are available to you at this particular stage of the review. Prior to submission, you can delete the application. Here you can also favorite the application to show it at the top of the application list on the dashboard and the My Applications page. If the application is under review, you will be able to download the application Excel form, and you can view the application questionnaire answers here. I'll go into a little bit more detail on those options in a couple slides. Then below the application's action is the invoicing and payments. If an invoice is due, you will see a link to that particular invoice in this box on the bottom right of this slide. At the center of the page, you can see the comments box, and this is where you can add a comment to send to the reviewer. Reviewer comments will appear here. Reviewer comments will also appear here. Prior to the application being submitted, or after the application has been completed, you will not be able to enter in comments. If you have any questions during those stages of the application, please email them to applications@designlights.org. Lastly, on the bottom left of this slide, you can see the application progress box. I'll go into a little more detail on the next slide. So blowing up the application progress box, you can see all the different steps that are required in an application submission. This particular screenshot is of a completed OEM application. Initially, all of the checkbox will be gray, but they will automatically turn to these green checkboxes when those stages of the application are completed. The private label applications will have a slightly different list of application statuses here to align with the process Bernadette mentioned earlier. So after you've created the application, one of your the first next actions, and I'll just flip back over a couple slides. You can see in the top right, there's the button for Upload Spreadsheet. Once you click on Upload Spreadsheet, you'll be taken to this slide, this page here, where you have the opportunity to upload your application Excel form. And you can see on the towards the right-hand side, there's an instructions box, which has the links to the website with instructions on how to submit this particular application type, as well as the location for the blank application Excel forms for download. After you upload the application Excel form, you'll be taken to the application questionnaire. As with all pages, you'll see the application overview at the top to ensure that you're working on the correct application and to see where the status is if needed. Specific to the application questionnaire page, you'll see the associated products, which is on the right-hand side in the middle. And those are the associated products that you included in your Excel upload. There's also the application's actions box at the top right, where at this stage, because I haven't completed all the questions yet, you can click on Save Progress and Exit, or you can click on Complete Application. If you haven't filled out all the necessary questions at this stage, and you click on Complete Application, you'll be directed to the center of the page, and the questions that are still pending will be highlighted. I will note that the associated products shown here, they do include the product ID that will be published to the QPL once the application is approved and all the products are qualified. If you do upload a new Excel application form during the review of your application, those product IDs will change. In the body of this page, you can see the various application questions in the questionnaire. And I'll go into a little more detail on that in the next slide. The required questions are noted by the orange required tag for each question that is required. And there are a few different types of questions to be answered. They range from drop downs to file uploads or free text. And there are also questions to indicate where you can add a row if a question could have more than one answer, or to indicate various options shown in the example here. Particularly, this is the housing variations question, and you can add a row for all the different housing variations. This is commonly used for troffers, where if you have a 1x4, a 2x2, and a 2x4 in your family, then you can enter all those on additional lines on this question. In addition to the question types I mentioned earlier, there are a couple of yes/no toggle questions, and some of those questions will reveal additional questions particular to the type of application you're submitting. So for example here, the top question is asking if your product family has warm dimming capabilities. And when you click yes on that question, two new questions will come up to ask what's the min CCT and the max CCT of those products. Lastly, there are questions where you need to associate a model number. And these questions are file uploads for test reports of a specific model number, or file uploads that are the output of a test of a specific model number. If you have multiple files to upload in these question types, you can click the Upload Another button, where you'll be able to browse and upload a new file and associate another model number. When you are clicking on the drop down for associated model number, you'll be able to search for and select the model number that you'd like to associate with that test report. The model numbers that are available in that drop down will be based on the application Excel upload you've uploaded in a previous slide. So lastly, once you finish the application questionnaire and you've already uploaded your application Excel form, you'll be brought to the product qualification terms of use agreement. This also was previously referred to as the self-certification statement. The language has not been modified for the new portal. However, there is only one checkbox needed at the bottom of this page. If you're not quite ready to submit yet and you don't complete the terms of use agreement, you X out of it or you cancel, you'll be taken back to the application detail page. Here you can see that my next step for this application is to submit the application, where that would bring up the terms of use again. If there is something that you still need to modify, under application actions, you can see you can upload a revised spreadsheet, or you can edit your application questionnaire. Or you can edit your application questionnaire, or you can delete the application because you still haven't submitted it yet. You can also add this application to your favorites to show up first in your application list on the dashboard and the My Applications page. Specific to private label applications, the process to obtain the private label agreements has changed in this new portal. In the current portal, this form will be downloaded from the website, signed, and then re-uploaded. In the new portal, the private label agreement is generated automatically by DocuSign and will be sent out by email for signature. And you do not need to create a DocuSign account to complete this action. The agreement form will contain the organization names, representative names, emails, and the OEM and private label model numbers that you included in your application Excel form, and all of those will be included in the document automatically. After you finish the last step in the application submission process, where you agree to the terms of use, the application status will change to awaiting signature. And the OEM and private label representatives will get an email from DocuSign with a link to electronically sign the private label agreement. The email addresses that are used will be based on answers within the application questionnaire. On the bottom of the application questionnaire for those types of applications, there's a section to enter the name and email for the OEM representative, and to select if you are authorized to sign the private label agreement on behalf of the private label manufacturer. If you select that you are authorized to sign the agreement, then the document will be emailed to the email that you have logged into the portal with. If you select that you're not authorized to sign the private label agreement, two new questions will come up on the application questionnaire, where you will enter in the name and the email of who you'd like to sign the private label agreement form. The application review will not begin until the private label agreement is signed by both parties. Also, versions of the private label agreement that are signed outside of DocuSign and uploaded to the application questionnaire will not be accepted. In the new portal, the private label agreements must be completed in DocuSign, which will make their way over to the reviewer for processing. Lastly, to discuss the communication method between the reviewers and submitters, this application here is currently under review, and you can see in the center of the page is the comments box with a few different comments between the submitter and the reviewer. To add a comment into this, you just click on the Add Comment button, where a pop-up will come up and you can type in your comment to submit. I will note that since this application is currently in review, you are not able to edit either the application Excel form or the application questionnaire because it is currently in review. So if you do need to make any of those sorts of changes after it started the review, please send a comment to the reviewer. Once an application comes back from the reviewer, if there's some issues, you will see the buttons that are shown here on the right-hand side. You can either comment and resubmit if the issue is one that can be resolved just through communication. And also, if you do click on that button to respond and resubmit, the application will be resubmitted after you enter in a comment. Also, since this application is in the reviewer message awaiting response status, if you add a comment in the comments box, it will be resubmitted as well. And just to reiterate that adding a comment at this stage will automatically resubmit the application. So please ensure that any necessary data or documents have been modified prior to adding a comment. On this page, you can also upload a new application Excel form if the changes requested by the reviewer indicate some modifications are needed on that form, or you can edit the application questionnaire directly. If you do upload a new application Excel form, you'll be taken to the questionnaire afterwards to make any necessary changes. Once you do make those changes and you submit the application status will be application resubmitted. Also to note that when comments are added to the comments window here, and the status is not in the reviewer message awaiting response, the application status will not change. But rest assured that if you add comments, those will be transferred over to the reviewer, and they will see those comments and be able to respond. And then lastly, just to reiterate, once an application has come to an end, whether the application status is published, closed, canceled, or rejected, the chat functionality will no longer be active. So after an application is completed, if there's some issue or you need to reach out to a reviewer, please send an email to applications@designlights.org. As Bernadette mentioned, to help ease the transition to utilizing the new portal, we do have some resources that are available. The webinar slides and a recording of this webinar will be posted on the DLC website shortly after this presentation. We will also be posting videos showing you how to navigate through the new portal on the Resource Hub under the How-To Guides. And speaking on behalf of Bernadette and myself, we hope that you found this webinar helpful to understand how to navigate and utilize the new portal. I'd also like to thank our wonderful team members, Aaron, Rachel, Dave, and Maddie, who have been fielding questions through the Q&A during this presentation. We'll now take a few of those questions and speak to them out loud for the group, but please continue to enter questions in the Q&A section, and we will respond either live right now, or we will message within the chat feature, or if we don't get to all of them during this presentation, we will respond to you via email. And then lastly, if you still have questions after reviewing the materials online, or if something comes up to you after this presentation, you can email us at applications@designlights.org.
Hello. Sorry about that. I was on mute there, Aaron. I'll go ahead and field the first couple of questions here to give you a break here. There were a couple questions regarding downloading the old data in the AMS. And is there an easy way to download all data than downloading each application set of data individually? We will be preparing resources that will guide you through how to download that data in a more streamlined way and posting that to the website after launch. We do not have that information available today, but we will be having resources to ensure that that process is as easy as possible for those who need to download data. And once again, you will have until May 31st to download that data. So there is, you can start to download that data now as of today, continuing through May 31st, but we will provide additional resources. There was another question on the application Excel forms that Aaron Feldman talked about during this presentation and when those will be available. We will be making those forms available sometime this week. Keep a lookout as we will be posting those, and likely we'll have communication associated with the posting of those forms. Those forms, along with today's recorded webinar, will be posted this week for your reference. We
I
also
can jump back in on the next question, Bernadette.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so the next, someone asked, explain the differences between reported data and tested data. Well, this isn't strictly to the new portal. Reported data is the manufacturer expected performance of the product. It's also referred to as rated data or scaled data, whereas tested data are the result of particular tests that were present on submitted test reports. Within the application questionnaire, when you do upload test reports and you associate those with model numbers, those model numbers that you associate to those test reports will have tested data from those submitted test reports.
Okay. Did you want me to take the next one, Aaron, or you want to take the next one?
I'll do it, given the opportunity.
Okay.
So the next question was, are applicants able to submit the same application for multiple manufacturers without needing to create a new application? For example, if there are sibling companies. So in the new portal, there's no way to submit the same application under multiple manufacturers. But as Bernadette mentioned earlier, there's the process of OEM products and private label, OEM applications and private label applications. The private label application process, as Bernadette mentioned, is a little more streamlined and requires much fewer documentation and test reports and those sorts of items in the submission process. And they do have a shorter timeline than OEM products. So if there are two manufacturers and they are and you have one that is private labeling a product from another, then submitting them as a private label application would be the most cost-effective and time-effective way to get those products qualified on the QPL.
Absolutely. All right. There was a question that because you are going to be working in this application portal for a longer duration, will there be any issues with any timeout as you log in? We currently do not anticipate you having any issues with a timeout. I can't say that I know the exact timeout time, but we will ensure to get that information available to our stakeholders. But please alert us by sending an email to either applications@DesignLights or info@DesignLights if you have any issues. And subsequently, throughout the launch of this portal, if you are experiencing any issues or having any concerns, please feel free to reach out to either info@designlights.org or applications@designlights.org and send us any feedback, comments, or issues you are having, and we will do our best to address those issues as soon as possible. There is a question here about, will these changes affect the overall timeline of the application process? At this time, we are still publishing and intend to complete the applications in the same timelines that have been posted with the older application portal. So we're hoping that this process allows us to be more streamlined and still meet those application timelines. We will be announced any changes to any timelines or things of that nature will be announced on the My DLC website portal. And there will be any banners associated with those changes posted, so you are well aware of any changes to timelines in the future. We believe that this new system will allow us to be more effective and more efficient in the application process, and look forward to you all working in the new system.
There was
Aaron,
one.
Go ahead, Aaron.
Oh yeah, there was one question about just going over the deadline for old applications in the current portal. I just brought up this slide again just to highlight that any new applications will need to be Any new applications after January 31st will need to be submitted into the new application portal. Any old applications that were already submitted by January 31st will continue in the old portal for 90 days. And then access to the old portal for all users to download old application data and history will be available until May 31st.
Okay. Please continue to enter your questions in the chat, and we'll be answering those as they come in. There is a question that came into the portal, into the Q&A box on, is there a way to group or categorize applications by OEM or product type? I guess if that's in reference to the application dashboard, you will be able to sort your application by the OEM or manufacturer you submitted on behalf of, but we do not have functionality where you can categorize applications by product type right now. That level of detail is internal to the application and may include different variations. So right now we're just sorting by application name, application ID, application status, and the last date updated.
One question came in about if you can assign multiple products to a single report, since most reports include all tests for a family. I know that may be specific for some labs, but other labs create test reports unique to each model number. So there are a few different ways to obtain those test reports. And if your test report has multiple, if you get a testing package that's a single PDF that includes multiple reports or multiple products that are tested within a single PDF document, you will need to upload that document multiple times to account for each product that was tested in that report and in each section of the application questionnaire. For example, if you have a report that includes both sphere data and thermal test data, you will upload that report to both the sphere question, and you'll associate the model number that was used in that sphere test, and you will upload that report to the thermal test question and select the model number there. Another question came in for, do we have to create a new account for the new portal, or will our existing account information be carried over? So the new portal is based solely on your MyDLC page on the website. So when you log into the designlights.org and you go to the MyDLC page, then there, as Bernadette showed, there'll be a button for the old and the new portal. Currently, if you go to the old portal, you're taken to another login screen with another username and password. Whereas if you click on the new portal, you'll be taken directly to the application dashboard, which will be based on your user that you're logged into on the website.
Okay. Aaron, do you mind switching over to the application Excel form that shows the component data? There's a question that came in on what needs to be entered on the application form regarding component detail. So in the reported performance table, you will be associating the LED or driver model number to a specific model number or product that you want to be listed on the QPL. Yet on the components tab, for LEDs, you will enter the component model number, manufacturer, the type, which is LED, and also the max LED current within the application. For drivers, you will enter the component model number, manufacturer, component type, and that's all. Also, in the case of fans, For horticulture, you would enter the same information that you enter for a driver for a fan option if you choose to add that. That is specifically for hort applications. Okay. Once again, just to point out, please make sure that the information that you include on LED model number and driver number on the reported performance table align or match what is in the component model number tab. If those do not match, our reviewers will likely have to reach out to you to ask for clarification on why those don't align. So please ensure that those match up. Okay. Well, I know we're coming close to time. And please, once again, if you go through this information again and have some other questions, please reach out to applications@designlights.org and info@designlights.org with any of your questions, and we'll respond to those as soon as possible. This information will be posted to the website shortly after this webinar, the slides as well as the recording. And we will have other resources that will be going on the website to support you through the launch of this new application portal. I want to thank Aaron and our moderators again, and we're very excited to launch this new application portal on January 31st. Thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Have a great day.